All right, I see we got some folks trickling in here. We'll give folks a few more minutes to get started and then we'll kick off. Appreciate everybody taking the time. All right, still people trickling in. I'll give us 1.5 minutes. 1 minute and 30 seconds for remaining folks, and then otherwise we'll get started and folks will come in partially way through. All right, we're gonna get started. Um, get the camera on and let's get rolling. Appreciate everyone taking the time to take the time out of their day and see what we've got here. We're really excited. We've been working on Canvas for a while now, and even some folks that are in the attendee list here have given us thoughts, feedback on, what they want AI to do for them in their day-to-day when it comes to go-to-market workflows. And so, through a bunch of conversations with folks like yourselves, with a bunch of teams, with some of the leaders that are here and that we've spoken to, we're really excited about what we've put together. So, excited to take folks through it. Um, so let's get started. I'm going to go and share my screen. We're going to spend most of the time in Canvas, the product directly. We're going to be walking through use cases for building internal apps and agents using Canvas for a whole bunch of different go-to-market workflows. As we go through, I imagine folks will have questions. Just drop them in the chat, and then we'll definitely leave time at the end for Q&A. And then this is something we're moving super quickly on. So if there's like feedback or interesting feature requests or ideas, like definitely make those known in the Q&A section at the end, because we're going to be sprinting on a whole bunch of stuff related to this now that it's going to be out. So let's get started. I'll share my screen here and we can dive in. So give me 1 second. Let me just make sure this is set up correctly. Whoops. All right. So I'm gonna just go through a few quick things real quick on sort of why did we build Canvas and what is it? What is it for? What does it do? And then we'll spend, like I said, the overwhelming majority of the time in the product here. So the simplest way to describe Canvas is that it is the fastest way to build go-to-market apps, agents, and automations. And each of those things are important here. So we'll go through use cases for each of these and talk about all of these. But when we say apps, we mean literally full service apps and the apps that have tooling built into them that are interactive, that auto refresh, that have like where you have full UI control over the front end, you have full back end control over what data it's plugged into and what it's actually doing, what actions it's taking. And then when we say agents, we mean real agents, like agents that are taking action on your behalf, that are telling you what you need to know, that are helping you build things, and really thinking on their own. And then automations, think of that as like the simplest form of the things that Canvas can build, where you can have triggers that set in other systems, and actually initiate certain automations and certain actions within the things you're building in Canvas. So each of these use cases is really exciting, really interesting, and we'll spend a lot of time obviously going through them. But the key to remember with Canvas is that this is all go-to-market native. And so all of the tooling that we've had in Chat AE forever, like the research agent, signals, enrichment, contact data, all of that proliferates throughout all of the things you can build. So it's the only go-to-market native full stack agent builder and app builder that exists. And then secondly, the things that you build, the apps, agents, and automations can produce external customer-facing artifacts and information and even collaborative apps that you can collaborate on with your buyers, with your champions externally without any infrastructure management involved. So we'll go through each of those, like I said. The way to think about this is like when it comes to go-to-market teams, in general, there's really two bad options for building agents and internal apps. There's a category that I classify as like easy but shallow. These are like internal GPTs or vibe coding tools like Replit Lovable. They're very easy to get started. Like you can get a Replit or Lovable app put together very quickly. You can spin up a internal GPT like a gem or with ChatGPT, internal GPT very easily. But it's super shallow. Like they don't have go-to-market context unless you take a ton of time ensuring that they do. And then they don't have any built-in go-to-market tools, right? Like they don't have enrichment, they don't have signals, they don't have research agents, and they don't really like do things for you, right? They're not monitoring, they're not doing things proactively. So they're easy, but they're very shallow, especially in a go-to-market context. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have tools that are very powerful but in my opinion, far too technical for the average go-to-market person. And so that is where you see like Claude Code or just coding agents in general. You're working out of a terminal. You're having to set up a local environment in a lot of cases. You're dealing with integrations and actually wiring those integrations up. You're having to deal with hosting. If you actually want to share anything externally, like you have to set up hosting, you have to set up deployment pipelines, it's just too much. Like we're in 2026. Like agents exist, AI infrastructure exists. There's no reason anyone should be working out of a terminal that isn't an engineer. Plain and simple. And so you should still be able to get the power of something like Claude Code that is go-to-market native with the ease of a vibe coding tool. And that's what Canvas is. And so we're excited to take you through it. But I wanted to set that stage because a lot of folks, a lot of teams are building with Claude Code or building with Replit or building with some of these tools. And it's really important, I think, that we're clear on the fact that Canvas is the only go-to-market native agent and app builder that has the power of Claude Code with the ease of a vibe coding tool. So let's dive in. So to start, we'll go through a few different use cases, and we'll talk through all the different types of things Canvas can build, and we'll walk through sort of the building process with Canvas here. So you see, I'm on the Canvas homepage here. The way Canvas is laid out is that we have sort of the canvas where you're actually building. And then everything on the left-hand side are like your chats and the previous things that you're building. And then we have a whole bunch of starter templates across a whole host of go-to-market workflows. And when I say different go-to-market workflows, like we really mean different go-to-market workflows across different teams, right? So things that like an individual sales rep, BDR, AE would do, things that a manager would think about, things across marketing, across customer success. The things you can build with Canvas are very broad, but the consistent thing is that anything that touches go-to-market is where it will shine, right? Because it has that built-in go-to-market context, it has that built-in go-to-market set of tools. And so there's a whole bunch of these templates across things like managing your pipeline or understanding your pipeline, things like prospecting workflows for either like identifying contacts or building agents to help you with prospecting. And then on the customer success and relation side of things, understanding your customers, understanding potential expansion opportunities. And then for just managing like your day-to-day admin, a bunch of different triggers and a bunch of different automations that might like be set up related to different triggers that you have, along with things like updating your CRM and a lot of different like administrative and operational things that every go-to-market person has to do. And then for leaders, really understanding like what team performance looks like and being able to build internal apps and agents to quickly diagnose what teams are doing, what folks on your team are doing, understand like why your top performers are top performers, and pull all that context from any of your systems and make sense of it and create like shareable apps and agents that will help you understand across your leadership team what is going on performance-wise across your go-to-market org. And so there's a whole bunch of stuff we've pre-built, but also Canvas is very flexible, right? So um, the simplest way to get started is to just start asking it questions. The other thing I'll call out one other thing, and that is that we have the ability to connect to a bunch of different tools, right? So we can connect to over 1,000 tools just directly. And then also you can set up API connections for anything that doesn't show up here. So for instance, like Gmail, your calendar, Salesforce, Slack, like whatever it is, you can, just come in and start looking up for those tools. Um, so like HubSpot, for instance, Salesforce, like a whole bunch of tooling built in that you can like natively connect to very easily. And then that becomes super helpful for pulling in context to Canvas, as well as like sending anything that you build in Canvas out. So the connective tissue with the rest of your stack is really important here. Um, so to get started, we'll go through a few workflows. I have a few that I've already built out, but we can go through some together. I think the simplest thing is when you have like if you don't have any information in Canvas and you're just getting started for the first time, then Canvas will ask you for information, right? So like the basic or one of the most basic use cases, but I think really powerful use cases is asking Canvas to just look at the accounts that are in your chat AE and ask it where to focus, right? So I'm just going to ask what account should I focus on this week based on the research. Now, if I didn't have accounts in Chat AE or Canvas already, it would then ask me to upload them. But I actually have accounts in this environment, so it's going to just look at all of the research that's been done on my accounts and then stack rank those accounts based on the research and what's relevant to me and where I should focus. You can see I've done this a few times on the left-hand side here, right? And so we have like here we have this other whoops. We have this other chat thread here where I previously asked it like, hey, which of my accounts should I focus on this week? It's looking across all my accounts and looking at the research, also looking at contacts. So this is where the fact that it has built-in contact tools and enrichment becomes super powerful because I can then really dive into understanding like, okay, not only like what account should I think about, but who, right? And Canvas can actually help me think about those things. And so now we've stack ranked these accounts. Um, and now like we can start building messaging and start really diving into each of the different accounts themselves, right? So if I go back to this one that we were just working on, I asked, hey, which of my accounts should I focus on this week? You'll notice the answers are different, right? Like I ran this other one yesterday, and now I'm running this one today. Research changes, right? Like what is relevant changes. And so I think that's one of the really interesting things about Canvas is because it's so go-to-market native and because it has those go-to-market tools built in, like the research agent, the contacts, etc. It can update you sort of on the fly, right? Like it's not going to just work off of like a static set of information and give you like a cookie cutter response. Like each response is going to be current. Um, and I think that's really important, right? So we have a set of accounts to prioritize here. This is great. And like there's more that I might want to do in this chat. But what becomes really interesting is every week I know I'm going to come in to Canvas and ask like, hey, what account should I focus on for this week? So rather than have to chat that every single week, we're going to turn this into an app. Um, so I'm just going to say turn this into an app. And so I'm going to make that pretty basic. But what this is going to do is it's going to now build an app in Canvas that I can return to, and that app will have a front end and all of the built-in functionality for finding or looking across all my accounts and week to week telling me what accounts I should focus on. Now, as you see, like it's going to work now. It's going and executing and building that app. Once it builds the app, I have then free reign to go do whatever I want with it. So you'll see in a second here once it builds, and while it builds, we'll go into another app here. You'll see I have a bunch of apps that we've built. Let's go into one of these ones here. So this app is one that I built that does the same kind of thing, like week to week, takes my accounts, basically looks at the research, um, refreshes it, and then gives me like a priority and stack ranking, pulls the relevant signals from the account as well, and then pulls contacts from the account that I need to go after, and then gives me some suggestions and plays. So I didn't spend like actually a ton of time configuring this app further. But this is now an app that I can like fully interact with and also vibe code changes on. And so anything that I want to change, whether it's like a UI thing or whether it's pulling in certain other information, like if I want it to pull information from like Gong or Fathom or my calls, right? Or pull information from my email so it knows like who I've already emailed. All of that I can like vibe code right in to this app. And then I can return to this app week over week, refresh the data, and get started and understand, okay, like week over week at the beginning of the week, here's where I'm starting out. Here's like the information I need to know on this account with the signals and the contacts. And then as you see, like one thing I would change in this app right away would be some of like the UI layout, right? So I might like change exactly where signals is, give it like its own section, might put plays a little further down so that it has like its own sort of clear space that I go to. Um, but that's like the beauty of Canvas. I have full control over this in a way that I would if I were working in like a Replit or Lovable, but it has all of those go-to-market tools built in for doing contact enrichment, for doing email generation, for connecting to all of my tools very seamlessly, for doing more research and getting me signals. So as a seller, like I have full control over how I want to work and the apps and agents I want to build because that tooling is built in and because of how easy we've made it to turn like a simple chat into these apps. So this one looks like it's still finishing, but um, so yeah, I think that's like a really important thing to note is that we're really trying to give folks the power of the tools like Claude Code with the ease of like vibe coding tools. So you can just come in and tell Canvas what you want it to build or start from a template. Like this account prioritizer app we have as a template that anyone could get started with on that homepage. Um, so I think that's like a really interesting use case, just like planning your week, really understanding like strategy and angles into an account, understanding the people in the account. A lot of those for folks who aren't as familiar with Chat AE, like are things that we've been doing for a while and that, sellers across all different types of teams have been using us for. Um, where I think this gets really, really interesting is building these apps and agents that will then themselves take other actions. And so, a couple examples of what I mean by that. Um, Here's an example of an app that we built, which is a ABM content generator. So what this does is it's an app that I return to, and what it does is within the app you're going to look up accounts of yours. It's going to run the research on those accounts and then generate customer facing artifacts for those accounts. So you can imagine using this for something like generating landing pages for a deal, generating landing pages for, really personalized outbound, same thing with video, same thing with like messaging. And so this app's interesting because it's an app that is itself taking action and generating externally shareable customer facing information, right? So I have it loading in my accounts. These accounts are coming from my Chat AE instance, but these could also be coming from like Salesforce or just like a CSV upload, for example. Um, So when I go and like look up one of my accounts, it basically fetches that information. I can give it, in this case, I've built this app to like take in some additional information on like who I want this like content to be made for, and some design principles and things like that. But you'll see like it then runs the research from Chat AE. It takes a few steps here of like running the research, gathering that context, and then putting it together in positioning, right? So obviously I'm positioning Chat AE Canvas, so it's looking at a lot of like go-to-market signals, in particular looking at like what this company is investing in from like go-to-market execution perspective, and really putting all that together in customer-facing outputs that I can then share. So example here being like we have a customer-facing landing page that it built that I'm going to now include in some outbound, to leaders at this account because I'm going to be showing them like the power of Canvas, but I'm also just going to be giving them a tailored outbound experience, right? And this is really cool because like I can have this link to like a demo request form or have this link to an email to me. I can put additional content in here that might, over time and refresh it. So just another way to be more personalized, both in my outbound, but also in my deals, right? So any seller that is like working strategic deals or doing strategic outbound, being able to create these like pretty good looking customer facing artifacts that are shareable where you don't have to worry about like hosting. You can just sort of go from like prompt to app to artifact very quickly. And again, it has all of the built-in context, right? So it's done the research using Chat AE's research agent that I need it to do, in order to put together a coherent story for why, they need to further invest in something like Canvas for their go-to-market org, right? Um, and so this is like really cool. The other thing that this will build is customer facing videos. And these are really cool, I think, for a few different reasons. One, the videos are just like pretty decent. They come with like built-in narration, and they use the capabilities from, again, like all the tooling that's built in, the research agent, the account context, any context you have that you've connected other tools to. And then the other thing that's really cool about it is like one thing I like to do is use this, especially like I'm not sending recap emails anymore. Like if I have a call with like a discovery call, I'm going and having Chat AE connect to my Fathom, pull that call, and then create a customer facing recap video. Because like again, I want to stand out. And I think that's part of the other theme here is like I know the folks that are on this webinar, like you're here because you want to invest in yourself or your team. And that's great. Like you are the people that are going to be able to stand out in your deals or stand out internally. And I think that's like a huge piece of this, right? Like these artifacts, like anybody can send a customer an email. Anybody can send a customer uh like a generic recap email. But are you sending them a recap video? Like are you building them a full blown like website that they are like that is being updated in like a true deal room fashion, but that is like way more tailored to them than even a lot of the deal room tools can do. Like that's where you're able to stand out. And I think when it comes to these like customer facing artifacts, that's a big piece that Chat AE is helping, especially folks on the sales side stand out with. Um, so these apps that generate artifacts and generate other materials, I think are pretty game changing because to build something like this and wire everything up from like the research, from the internal context, from the hosting to make these links work and be shareable when you send them out, like that's just a lot of work, that honestly, like I said, it's 2026. We shouldn't have to, as go-to-market folks, be spending our time building these things. So the power of being able to build with the ability to share and the ease of doing the building is, I think, what we're going for here. Um, so that's on the apps front. There's another cool type of app that you can build that is also external and shareable, and that is interactive apps. And so we've talked about the ability to build like apps for yourself that you come back to with like a weekly like account prioritizer type app where like each week, you're having Canvas tell you where to focus. We've talked about building an app that then lets you generate customer facing materials, like this ABM content generator. And then the next derivative of that is building uh, apps that are themselves interactive and shareable. And so one example of this, there's a lot of examples, but the first example that came to mind as a big inspiration both like for me and also with what we heard from a lot of sellers is org charts. If you're working a strategic deal, especially if you're working like a larger company, understanding that org and understanding like where everyone sits in that org chart is really important. And it's also something that you can't always do on your own. Like you need to be able to collaborate with your champion to really understand like, hey, who's really involved here? And like, do we have everybody involved that we need involved, and do we have everybody accounted for so that we can go and land this big deal and do proper like selling, team selling across our team and your team. And so within Canvas, like you can build org charts very easily because we have access to all the contact information. And then you can like, make any changes you need to, move people as you learn or uncover information. You essentially have like your own org chart builder. But what I think is interesting in this case is like you probably also want to do that with your champion. And so being able to put together again, this is like a externally shareable app that I can now share with my champion where I can come in and like make changes to the org chart and get their input, have them give me, have them take notes, right? Um, and have us like make sure that we're clear on like, hey, this person's a risk here. Um, and hey, this person is actually like on our side and helping us internally, right? Um, this type of collaboration has never before been possible until AI, right? Um, because to do this for every deal is just way too hard and difficult and time consuming. Um, but also, like, we're taking a step further by making this a truly interactive app that is shareable and interactive, where you and your champion can collaborate. Like, the closest thing we've had to this is like deal rooms, but even deal rooms are limited in terms of like what they're able to do, right? Um, so I love this concept. I think it's something that any seller that is doing strategic sales, or even really any deal that is like I don't know, I call it like any deal that's like 50K and up, you should be like doing these activities with your champion. And now that's easier than ever before to do. As far as like building these types of apps, making them shareable, making them externally shareable. Um, that's huge. And so we're really excited about this concept of like taking the app and agent building that Canvas can do and extending that to collaboration, not just internally, which is very important, but also externally. There's a lot of use cases we could go through. I think the other thing is what a common theme you'll see in these in the starter templates that we have is that it's looking at context that is both like inherent to the built-in go-to-market tools that Canvas has, like the contact enrichment, the research, signals, etc., but also definitely leveraging tools that are like connectable, right? So for instance, one of the things I've done myself as we're like preparing for this launch is asking Canvas questions like, hey, go connect to my Fathom and tell me like last month, like all of the different themes that I need to know. And so in this case, I'm not necessarily I could turn this into an app. I could turn this into an agent and I probably will. Um, but even just fetching information from different sources, like internal sources, whether that's my email, my call recordings, my CRM, etc. Canvas is really good at this. Again, because all those connectors are very easy to wire up here, and because it already understands how to think about the raw data that's in those in a go-to-market context. So this was really interesting for me to do, like really get a sense for April, like, hey, what were the main themes from these certain type of calls that we did that we want to like really understand and peel back on, right? So um, these are like these are things that are I think are invaluable for both you as a seller or you as a leader in terms of understanding like, hey, what are we hearing? What are the themes we're hearing? And then how can we action on those? Um, Canvas is a great way to both dig through that information and also then, as you've seen, start to put together actions against those things. Cool. Um, Yeah, we've gone through a lot as we've seen. The a few more things I'll highlight here, and then maybe we can like take some questions and maybe even build some stuff together, or build some more stuff together. Um, on the other thing that I love is using Canvas to do planning. So as both as a rep or as a leader, but as a rep one of the things that you're thinking about constantly is like, all right, like how am I gonna hit my number, right? How am I gonna like attain quota? Like, what does that look like? How far am I? Like the CRM helps us, right? Because like we have reports in, our CRM. We have reports that sales ops, rev ops built out for us. But as a rep, like maybe I want certain things to be way more customizable, and I want way more control over understanding like how to think about hitting my number. Or as a manager, right? Like the both things are true. Um, and so one of the things we've seen some of our early users of Canvas and early beta testers do is start to build these like personalized like how I hit my number dashboards, right? And again, because there's just way greater control over like how this looks and what information it pulls from. We've seen people do some really interesting things with this. This is actually a relatively basic one, but you'll see like it's connecting in the concept of like weekly plan. You can imagine using that like weekly account prioritizer app that we have, pulling that agent into something like this, having this connect out to my email and other tools, like my email sending tools or my sequencing tools for like easily loading folks in that it's telling me to load in. So there's a lot of folks that we've talked to that are going to turn this into like their like command center essentially. And so really excited about that. Really excited to see like all the cool things that we haven't even thought of that people do with this. And so I think like internal reporting both for yourself and your team is really, really key. It's something that people are already doing with like Claude Code and all the vibe coding tools, no question. But again, being able to have that built-in go-to-market set of tools and context and also being able to like take action and produce other external customer facing outputs from that command center, from that report seamlessly is I think again another game changer that we're really excited about. So I wanted to highlight, things on the reporting side for sure. Um, Cool. There's obviously, as you can imagine, like a heck of a lot more we could talk through. Maybe at this point, let me check. Okay, no, we still got a good amount of folks here. Love to see it. Um, We'll open up for some Q&A. And then if there's not like a ton of questions, we could potentially walk through building a few more things. But if folks want to know anything about like how Canvas works or how to build certain things or even want to see us like try to walk through building some of these things right now, all fair game. So yeah, open up to the floor for any questions anyone has based on anything we've reviewed so far. And just feel free to drop them in the chat, whether it's a question or something you'd want to see us build. Can Canvas mass email your accounts? Any plans to gather intensity in the marketplace? Reach out to contacts with clients. Cool. All right. So I'll take the first question first. Can Canvas mass email your accounts? Canvas itself, well, there's two ways I'll answer that. Canvas itself does not have like an email sequencer built in, but it can seamlessly connect to any sequencing tool you have. Um, and it can also connect to your Gmail or Outlook. And so short answer is yes, like you can like produce like email sequences and emails for your accounts. The way it's doing that is by connecting to either your email tool directly, or your email sequencing tool. So I have an example actually. I was doing this the other day. Yeah. So actually, like one thing that's like really honestly amazing is I was using Canvas to build a bunch of sequences in Smartlead. So for instance, like I told it to like connect to my Smartlead and build me a sequence, and it like looked through our connectors, it didn't have it, and then it like asked me um for like the API, shared that, and then it went and built like the campaign for me, and then I had it go look up some contacts. Um, yeah, here's it building like the five-step sequencing. This was like personalized messaging for each contact and account based on the research that Chat AE can do on those accounts. So scroll down, and then you'll see like I loaded in some contacts, and it built like those personalized messaging for each of those contacts here based on the research and based on the research agent, and then loaded all those directly into my smart lead. And you'll see I asked it to show me like all the emails. Um, and so in short, like yes, you can definitely use Canvas to like automate a ton of your emailing and build sequences and other tools, and use the research and use our email agent to build strong messaging and build strong sequencing. Um, and I think the cool thing about this is because like it has access to my smart lead now. Like anytime I want to whip up a new campaign, I just tell it like, hey, go build this new sequence for me, and this is what I want it to look like. So so yeah, I think it's like really powerful for that use case for sure. Just a matter of how you want to connect, whether you're connecting directly to an email tool or connecting and pushing your emails to like your Gmail or Outlook or something. Um, Tyler asked, any plans to gather intent signals in the marketplace to reach out to contacts with buying signals? Not totally sure if I understand the question. So signals and research are built into Chat AE and therefore built into Canvas. So like all of the prioritization that we were doing here when we were asking, um, where was that? When we were asking here, when we were asking Chat AE, like, hey, which of my accounts should I prioritize? Like, all of this is being driven by the signals and research agent that it's doing. Um, and yeah, not for accounts that are loaded in here. Intent signals like scoops on Zoom. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, short answer, yes. So like this weekly account stuff that I was doing, I was having it look at my Chat AE accounts, but instead, you could have it like look just generally in the market. It also one other go-to-market tool it uses is it uses our built-in alerts tool. So for instance, like I could have it set general alerts or look generally in the market. You could also have it do things like looking for lookalike accounts. So one of my chats down here, I forget where it was last week. I was having it look at and find me like lookalike accounts. Um, I forget where that chat was. So yeah, short answer, yes. It will do whatever you tell it to do. Like if you tell it to go look for signals across your set of accounts, it'll look for signals across your set of accounts. If you're asking it to look for like general market signals, it'll do that as well. Um, the biggest thing is just specifying like, hey, you want to look at like general market signals, or you want to look at lookalike accounts rather than accounts that exist in your chat AE already, or that you upload. Um, Nick asked, does Canvas pre-build or automate any of the org chart building process? So yes, that's more or less what this app that I showed was. I have a few others too. I built this for a few other accounts. Um, the way it's doing this, in this case, is it's first like looking up contacts using our contact tool, and then it's pulling in contacts and then like assembling them into like the org chart here. Generally it's gonna go and do that based off of like title. So like it's gonna go off of like hierarchy here. But then as a like, any changes you need to make, you can come in and like move folks around, change reporting structures. Um, and so for instance, like now that I've done this, one thing I can do is turn this into an app that will auto assemble org charts for me based on any information I share with it. Like if I just tell it an account, like it'll auto assemble that org chart for that account. Or if I want to feed it other information, I can do that as well. Um, but yeah, like org charts are definitely something that it can build pretty well because it has the contact tool built in, and because it has this like generative app capability. Um, yeah, if I missed something with that question, Nick, just let me know. But in general, like org chart building is definitely something that should be much, much easier with Canvas. And I think one thing we see is like people start off with like a question in Canvas, right? So like, hey, tell me what I need to know about this account, or like, oh, go find me this particular signal, or hey, what are some lookalike accounts to this account? And then like after doing that one off, take that and turn it into an app that you then reuse, right? So here's actually, we'll just do this now. Like this org chart builder app that I have here, I'm going to say, turn this into an app I can reuse where I input an account and it will assemble an org chart. Look up the contacts and then assemble an org chart. So I think that's one of the really, whoops, we got a little error there. Let me do a refresh. I think that's one of like the really interesting things about Canvas is like any of the one-off things you build can just be turned into automations or agents or apps that get reused. And so I'm not sure why that is happening. Let's try this with another one. But similar to how we did back here, in this thread, this weekly account prioritizer app, this started with a thread where I was asking it like, hey, what account should I prioritize? And then I basically took that and asked it to build it into an app. So yeah, this is what we did when we started off. So um, this is the one we first started off with in this webinar. Like a lot of these things that people are building and we people are most excited about building are things that you do one off, but then find that you do repeatedly and can seamlessly turn them into like agents and apps that just are there to be reused. And so, for instance, the first chat we started with in this webinar was just, hey, like what account should I focus on this week? And then like it got me an answer that's helpful. It's actually very nice, especially because it has access to the research, has access to our information in terms of like what we're selling and how we should think about these things. And um, but I know I'm going to do that every week, so I wanted to turn this into an app. This is now a standalone app that I can come in each week, refresh the data, and dig into for each account, right? And really understand, okay, like here are my top 5 accounts. Here are my top 8. Here are my accounts in fintech that we're going to target. Here are my accounts in cybersecurity. So any of those processes that you're doing week to week or day to day, Canvas can help you one off, but where it becomes really powerful is like turning that into either an agent that's going to do it for you or an app where you come back into. And so that's one of like the big, big, big pieces with Canvas. It's going to be pretty different from like just using Claude or ChatGPT or whatever. Um, cool. Any other questions or use cases or ideas folks have? I'm super curious to know if any other use cases or ideas come to mind. We're gonna be we're going to be following up uh and well we're pushing this live, so we're going to be following up anyway, but you'll see it live like in short order here. Um and then the other thing is for anyone on this webinar, we're going to share like a discount code to use. So if you sign up for like a Canvas Chat AE subscription, you'll get like a discount because you attended the webinar, and then you'll also get bonus credits. So each of these actions that are being taken in Canvas like are using credits depending on like how complex or complicated the thing you're doing is. And so anyone that attended here with that discount code will also give you like bonus credits. And so we'll share that out with everybody as well. Everybody that attended gets those. Um, and then as folks are building with this, like definitely like there's like I said, there's a whole bunch of starter templates that I think cover a wide spectrum of use cases and certainly cover like the most common use cases we've heard as we've been developing this. Um, but if there are like use cases folks have questions about, definitely definitely like definitely call them out as you're building with it. Um, got a question in here. Do you have any trainings or anything with full workflows on how AEs are using this in their day to day? Um, in short, yes. Like we plan to have some sort of like weekly office hours or something like that. It will be like some combo of like a weekly demo, weekly office hours that anybody can attend. And so anyone that has like questions on different workflows they want questions on, or it's also a way that we'll be able to like share cool things other people are doing. We're planning to do those. And then the other thing is like I think a lot of these templates. Um, like will get people started in a good way. Um, and a lot of these are geared towards sales, to be honest. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like there's some marketing and ops and like customer success stuff in here, but like a lot of the stuff in like pipeline and deals, a lot of the stuff in like this accounts in territory section is all very like AE and BDR focused. Um, so I'd say like starting out with the templates is going to be like a great way to start. But yeah, we definitely plan to have like weekly demo office hours type of stuff as well to share learnings and make sure people get like full visibility into what all the cool stuff people are doing. Tyler said, would be amazing to load this up, see which companies to reach out to based off intent signals, which people to reach out to, and with the messaging you reach out to them with on a daily basis. Yeah, that's 100% like an app that I think we're gonna see a ton of people build. Um, this like this app here kind is like sort of starting to do that, like the weekly prioritizer. But one thing I would do in here now, if I wanted to like take the next step, is start integrating more of those tools like contact finder, email generation, like rerunning signals into this tool. And so that's like the beauty of it, right? So this now that we have this app, oh no, this one. Now we have this app here, one of the things like I'll do is I'll say like add for each account, add a find contacts button that hits our contact tool and looks up new contacts, right? So integrating those other tools into your apps, I think is key. And so the app you outlined or like the workflow you outlined, Tyler. We have a few templates that I think are going to be good for that. Like we have a few like account tiering templates, account prioritization templates, and then for like prospecting and outreach, we have a few templates related to like, hey, here are my top accounts. Go find contacts for them and draft like emails for them. Here's another one that goes like a step further and goes like researches top accounts, finds contacts in them, builds landing pages for them, and then also builds emails that include links to those landing pages. And so I think there's a lot of cool stuff that involves integrating those tools together in it. And a lot of these templates in the prospecting and outreach category. bring a lot of those things together really nicely. And so, where's the losing all my chats here? Where are we at? Okay, yeah. So here's another example of like the build process when you get into actually like editing apps and building them in a little bit more sophisticated ways. So you can always access these apps like in their own window, like I've done here, just to give you more space. But when you're building, you can like ask ChatAI the questions, have it like make the updates, and then you'll be able to see those changes reflected right here. Um, Kind of like anyone who's used like any of like the vibe coding tools would be familiar with like this kind of workflow. Um, and so those things like that you add in might be like the internally built go-to-market tools like Contact Finder, Research Agent, alerts, signals, things like that. Or it might be like fetching stuff from your other internal systems, right? So from your email, from your call recording tool, from your CRM, whatever system you need to pull from. Um, you can both of those become tools that you can then add into your apps here. So. Yeah, so here you see it's building in real time. It added this section, which is going to basically like initiate some research and some contact searches. Still editing the app, so it's not totally done yet. Um, but I basically like if I don't like what it did, I'll just tell it to fix it and change it, right? That's one of the beauties of like vibe coding in general, but with how we built Canvas, like you have that kind of control over these apps and agents you're building, um, which I think is nice because you know we all have our own way of doing things. Like the templates will get you started, and then you can make any sort of tweaks to an app like this that you need to. Um, cool. Any other questions folks have? Otherwise, want to be respectful of time, maybe give some folks some time back in the day. Thanks, Cam. Appreciate you joining. Um, yeah, any last minute questions folks have before we drop and give folks time back in the day? Again, thanks everybody for joining. I mean, really appreciate it. I know it's like smack dab middle of the day on a Tuesday and like between calls, between prospecting, between like all the stuff we have to do, like yeah, taking an hour in the middle of the day on a Tuesday, um, it means a lot. So appreciate it. And we also have a recording of this that we'll share out as well. And then Vincent asked, when is this rolling out? This is rolling out today. So you'll get everyone here will see in the follow-up. We'll be sending follow-ups to everybody who joined, and we'll be notifying everybody when this is live. And like I said, we'll also be including the discount code for folks to use for subscribing to a plan that will get you not only a discount on the plan, it'll also give you bonus credits for having attended the webinar, and like a decent amount of bonus credits, which should help you just build even more cool shit. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. We're super excited about this, not least of which because this is probably the first product and for we've really released that is going to in a big way, even more so than anything we've had before, really rely on the creativity of our customers and users um like I can't wait to see what people build with this. I can't wait to see what you all do with this. Um and then we're gonna really try to foster learning from each other. Like teams that are doing really cool things with Canvas, like we'll share those with other teams. Reps that are doing really cool things with it, we'll share those with other reps. So there's a lot of cool stuff we want to like share and make sure people are learning from. But can't wait to see the creativity that everybody has within them with using this. So excited to see what you all build. And thank you again for joining. Appreciate it. Anyone who has questions about Canvas, like one-off ones that you didn't get to ask here or just that come to you later, feel free to reach out. To me, it's just Dustin at chatae.ai, or can always hit me up on LinkedIn or whatever. But yeah, feel free to reach out with any other questions that didn't get answered or anything that comes up as you think about this further or as you're playing with it. But yeah, appreciate everyone taking the time. Have a good rest of your day and excited to see what everyone builds. All right. Peace out.